Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Word Slingers. Today's guest is John. Is it Bua or Bua?
Either way.
Okay, I didn't know what your preference was. Or what
You know what's funny is even my own family kind of argues.
Oh, really?
I always say Bua.
Okay. John Bua.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for your time.
Yeah, no problem.
So this is Word Slingers. This is a place where we talk about writing specifically.
Uh-oh.
So what got you into writing?
What got me into writing? Comic books is really the answer. There's no other answer. You know, I told the story a few times on my channel. I was in third grade and I could barely read. I was in the bottom reading group, and it's true story, but it sounds made up. I was in a Catholic school. There was like 36 kids in a class, you know, and we only had like 17 reading books. So we had to partner up with somebody, you know what I mean? So it was one book for two people. And my partner was Jordan, and Jordan couldn't pull his pants up after going to the bathroom in third grade. So you didn't have to tell me that I was a dummy. I figured out that I was a dummy. You know what I mean? I'm looking around. That kid had snot dripping out of his nose. That kid couldn't pull up his, and I'm like, so, you know, a little bit of positive shame. And then I made friends with a couple of kids that were really into comics, and they would draw. You know, I always liked drawing. I was always doodling. You know, everybody, even when you didn't read comics, you knew Spider-Man and whatever. So I would doodle with them and everything. And next thing, we're hanging out, go to the house, and he's got comic books all over the place, and they're picking them up and they're talking about the stories and everything. And I'm like, oh man. And I'm like, you guys like read? And like, they looked at me like it was the strangest question. Because like, in my mind, you read at school, just like you do math at school. I don't know about you, but you don't come home and be like, you know, cartoons are on, I'm going to do math problems. You know what I mean? Reading is the nuns try to get you to read. And when the nuns aren't getting you to read, you're running around playing.
Right.
But they got into it. This is like a perfect example of positive peer pressure. So I looked at the comics. The art was cool, you know what I mean? And I got the gist of it because Marvel storytelling and DC storytelling was phenomenal in the 70s. We're talking the early mid 70s. So I'm looking through everything, getting the stories, acting it out. But I didn't know the characters' names. I didn't know the secret identities. You know what I mean? I saw that this guy shot fire and this guy could stretch. So I didn't know who they were talking about. And then I sounded out and I realized for the first time that it was worth the effort to learn to read because it was fun. And, you know, by the end of the year, I remember I was sitting next to Marianne, and Marianne was the girl that the nun would pick to write your name on the board. If, you know, when she had to go to the bathroom, Ben was talking, you know, so this was my partner. I made it to the Owls. That was the name of the group, you know. So, and it's from the bottom group to the, you know, there was only 4 groups. It's not like, you know, but still, I went from the bottom reading group to the top reading group in 1 year because I finally found something worth reading. And then from reading, you know, me and my friends, I'm trying to think from third grade. I'm trying. It must have been around 6th grade. So within 3 years, we started playing Dungeons and Dragons. That's Dungeons and Dragons is a lot of reading, and Dungeons and Dragons is storytelling, but you don't write it down. And I just was fascinated with Dungeons and Dragons, and they were happy that because they were the dungeon masters. You know, I was the dummy of the group. But I said, let me try. And I got really into it to the point everybody else stopped being the dungeon master. And I liked the storytelling. And then, this is going to sound awfully arrogant, the players weren't making the right choices. So I went from doing, you know, telling the stories to like, you know what, I'm going to write down what they should have been doing. And next thing you know, I'm writing stories. Like, nice. Why am I even playing Dungeons & Dragons? So, you know, and then we found a superhero role-playing game. And I haven't touched Dungeons & Dragons again. I've been playing the superhero role-playing game. So I play out a comic book story with my friends, and then I would write it down in my forum, which is having problems right now again. And I'd write it down. And then I'm like, this is an issue of a comic. This is an issue of a comic. And then, of course, like every role player says, wouldn't it be great to make a movie or a comic book or a novel about you? So one day I said, you know what, I'm going to do it. But that was like 20 years ago. And I didn't think it was possible. I still had this naive dream that Marvel and DC needed me because I got a million comic books. I know all the comic books and they need me. I love Fantastic Four. And then around 2015, I realized not only did Marvel and DC not want me, I don't want to work for them anymore. I didn't like the direction of the company, and I kind of despaired. And then I saw people online were making their own comics, and then really it was when Richard C. Meyer put out Jawbreakers. I was like, wait a minute, you could do this. But I still got intimidated. And then it really wasn't until RJ from the Fourth Age put out the Valiant Heroes, Thomas Valiant. I was like, this is something I could do. So I was like, dare I? So I polished up some scripts, talked to a couple of people. It took me about a year before I even got to I'm making a comic book. It was a lot of dipping my toe in the water, and next thing you know, I'm writing a comic. But it was always comic books here. In college I took creative writing courses. At one point I wanted to write a novel. Like I went through that pretentious artsy fartsy stage. Right. Like this sounds so pretentious, but you got to understand how pretentious I was at the time. I wrote like a Greek play. You know what I mean?
Oh, wow.
Because I was like, I'm going to write. It's going to be so pretentious. Well, I didn't say that at the time, but it's going to be like so artsy fartsy. So it was like Greek. It was Alexander and his generals talking about like they're about to go to war. They're dividing up the empire, and they can't come to terms. And then a servant comes by who's a eunuch, and they start making fun of the eunuch, and then they tell the eunuch story, and that becomes like slapstick. All of this stupid nonsense to end up he gets his thingy cut off, and they all end up laughing. War's diverted, and they agree upon the territories already captured. All because this unfortunate guy got it.
Right.
So I thought that would be so. The contrast of the high philosophy of the historical, then the slapstick Three Stooges.
Yeah.
Nobody laughed but me. You know what I mean? But there you go. How's that for a long-winded answer?
No, I love it. That's awesome. Was there any book in particular that kind of pulled you into enjoying comics?
Comic books?
Yeah.
I'm gonna say like the whole gambit. It was, when I first started reading comics, it was Len Wein and writing the Fantastic Four with George Perez and Joe Sinnott writing it. I'm trying to remember who was writing I think Jim Shooter was writing the Avengers when I first started.
Nice.
And I still say that the Jim Shooter era of Marvel is like the high point of Marvel. No disrespect to Stan and Jack. They set up the foundation, and then I think Jim Shooter stood on their shoulders, and then everybody else kind of just fell off the statue, if you ask me. But I don't know those, and then to me, Alan Moore showed me how comics could get even higher. Like no offense to Jim Shooter and Len Wein and all of these guys, Bill Mantlo, these guys that I absolutely love. Alan Moore came out, and I was like, oh wow, comics could be literature.
Right.
And then I started to get real serious about comics, not just a guy who just wanted to read, Captain America throwing a shield at the Red Skull. And I started like getting into comics history with like guys like Will Eisner that I didn't, I heard the name before, but I didn't really know who he was. So I just got, full on. I worked at a comic book store at the time, and like people would ask you questions, and I don't like to be embarrassed. So you're like, oh, that guy asked me something about Cerebus. I guess I got to read Cerebus now. You know what I mean? Oh, Love and Rockets. This looks pretentious. Next thing I'm reading that. So, it's always been comics. I'm trying to think is like novels. And it got to the point when I was 25 years old, I got so self-conscious that I didn't read novels. I only read comics. I was like, nobody's going to take me seriously. I'm an adult now, and I'm still reading. So I went on this big novel read. I read all the classics, I still got stacks of novels that I bought during that period that I didn't finish yet. But I read I read anything comic book related novel. So like I don't know if you know Philip Wiley, who wrote Gladiator, which Superman was based on. E.E. Smith wrote the Lensman, which Green Lantern was ripped off of. And also,
oh wow,
Star Wars. Everything came from the Lensman. It was like the first space opera. I'm trying to think. Now I'm reading this, which is Roy Thomas used this to explain the nature of superpowers.
Really?
Yeah. So like all the comic book related novels, except for Doctor Strange. Not Doctor Strange. Doc Savage. I just started reading that now.
Oh,
And
cool.
then from there, I was like, now I'm going to read all the classic monsters, like Dracula, Frankenstein, the Golem, and all of that stuff. And and then I realized, like, I started working, and I didn't want to bring my comic books to work, but I really like to read, so I would get paperbacks and read novels. So all the time reading, to the point I'm mad because now I have a cell phone for 6 years, and I don't read as many novels because I used to bring books to work and read, and now I'm like looking like 16 best sites to visit if you like pizza. And I'm like, wow, I like pizza. So and also if I ran out, like sometimes after work your eyes get sore, you don't want to read.
Yeah.
So I just sit on the train and daydream. Now there's no need to daydream. You know what I mean? I could watch a stupid YouTube video or so I'm getting kind of mad at myself.
Yeah. No, I'm kind of the same way. I'll pop
We
in
all
like audiobooks or something instead of reading. I'll do audiobooks.
Oh, that's a pet peeve of mine. When people tell me that they read a book and you find out it's an audiobook, those are different skills.
Yeah.
Storytelling and reading and listening, these are all different skills.
Right.
Like my wife and I drove to my brother's house, who lives a couple of hours away in Connecticut. We listened to The Hobbit. We didn't pretend that we read The Hobbit while driving. We listened to The Hobbit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And my rule with audiobooks is I only will listen to an audiobook for a book that I've already read.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
You know what I mean? I got to read it first, and then I'll do the audiobook. But yeah, I mean, I think audiobooks are a good idea. I remember they were really big in the 90s. All the truckers were getting cassette tapes. And as they were driving, these truckers were like listening to like Marcus Aurelius, and they were very like, well listened to it, because I don't want to say well read.
Right.
But I always thought that was so weird. Audiobooks on tape. And then now I see the value of them, but it's not reading.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
Like you said, different skill.
Yeah, it's different areas of the brain, different,
Mm-hmm.
But it's still better than not reading.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
At least you're aware of.
Right. Yeah. Expose
content.
yourself to, great literature,
Yeah. All right. So what's your process like when you're writing a script?
That's a good question, because I don't know. I'm just like, that's a good idea for a comic book. Like, so I'll come up with the germ of a story, and I'm like, okay, I got it. Can I make that into 22 pages? Yeah, and I'm like, oh, but no, I can't. That's not enough. Okay, what would be to make it enough? And then just like, okay, I'm just gonna start writing, see if I could turn this into a story. Nope, I can't. Or nope, I need to add something. You know what I mean? So it's really like I'm an amateur is really the only way to describe it. It's like, it's not like Chuck Dixon, who's like, I have this, I wake up, pick up the pet, but a lot of times we'll do a role playing, and I'm like, that would be a good story if the players did the right thing. So then I'll rewrite it the perfect way, which is my way. But that's really my process. Like, I'll read a comic and I'm like, oh man, they messed up that story. That's not the way it's supposed to go. Right. So how could I make the way it's, especially time travel? Oh my God, nobody gets time travel. Yeah. So how can I do the story the proper way with my characters set in my world? So it's but most of it's just like, oh, this is a fun story. Like I don't want to give a spoiler, but I came up with an idea for a story because the main character in my comics is called the Patriarch. He's a father, he's a husband. And I realized that every story is him fighting supervillains. And it's almost like the wife and the kids are just props to show up. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, how could I make an interesting story of him hanging out with his kids? Because it's a superhero comic book. You know what I mean? It's not Leave It to Beaver. Oh, you didn't do the laundry, So I was like, okay, he comes home. He's all beat up, because he's always all beat up when he comes home. And the kids are like, oh, Dad, because he never comes home at the same time. Being a superhero, there's no set schedule. So the kids are all ready for him. Dad's home. Yeah, it's Thursday night. Dungeon crawl. So the kids are going to play. They had it all set up. They're playing Dungeons & Dragons with the dad. All 7 of them, mom and dad. There's 9 players. One of the boys is the DM. So he's got to go shower up. And while he's showering, he's telling his wife, what happened. They always tell what happened. And the wife doesn't want to watch the news because, you know what I mean? She'd rather hear it from him. The news always distorts it or whatever. So he's telling this horrible story. And again, I don't want to give too many of what happened. And she's like, and he's upset too. Again, I don't want to tell what, but now he's got to put a brave face on and play with the kids because most of the kids are young. You know what I mean? Daddy's home. They're excited. They don't want to know. Dad's infallible kind of thing. So now he's playing. So then the adventure is going to be them fighting orcs. You know, so it's almost going to be like a fantasy comic, and then like it'll break it. So and then at the same time, the wife, like they're looking at each other. They're not telepathic, but the story that they're playing out is going to be
paralleling what happened,
parallel to what really happened, except it's the kids playing, and it's perfect. It's the way it should have went. You know, so that all came out because I was like, I feel bad. Like I made these 7 little kids. They're all cute. The wife is, you know, hot and she's, I want to show that she's not just a trophy wife. She's not just a prop. She's scarred. So I don't want people to be like, you know, why does she have scar? Like she's a character, but I just realized everything is like, beat the bad guy, beat the bad guy, beat the bad, which is great. I love that stuff.
Yeah. But
I wanted to have like a family interaction. So I think this is, you know, so sometimes I'll just come up like, oh, that's a good bad guy. I really want to use that bad guy. So I write up a story about that. And then I'm like, I want people to know about my world building process. So the point of the story is the world through the patriarch and this guy interacting. You know what I mean? Not that the fight doesn't mean anything because I want it to mean something, but there really is, oh, okay, so this is the way the world is. You know what I mean? That's issue number 2. I think it's a cool story. I'm introducing a character that's going to be important, but the true meaning is to give a glimpse of the darkness behind my world. And then if I can keep talking about my comic, there's 2 stories. There's going to be the patriarch is the flagship character. It's going to be a flip book. So you take the comic, it's got the patriarch, and then you flip it over, and it's going to be a different character.
Okay.
So in issue number 2, it's going to be Mary Sue. Are you familiar with the Mary Sue?
Yeah, is that like the perfect character? Nothing.
Yeah. So that's just
wrong.
Her name is Mary. Her last name is Sue. She's Chinese American. She's perfect. Okay. She has the perfect power. She has the perfect life. But perfect doesn't. Everybody's got a different definition of perfect. You know.
Right.
So she's perfect in the eyes of her grandmother. She's a perfect, you know, stereotypical Asian. She's a doctor. She's got a PhD. She gets her superpowers. She's 22 years old. She's never been kissed. She graduated college early. She's nerd. And she's excited, and she, you know, please grandma. She does everything right. So now she's got superpowers, but she's naive. That's not perfect, but to Nana, that's perfect. So the purpose of that story is to show the nature of superpowers through this girl who's a scientist, you know, learning about it and problem solving. So I was like, oh, cool. I can introduce this character that I really like. And I can introduce a couple of bad guys. But the whole purpose of that story is I want people to see, like, you don't just get bitten by a radioactive spider. You get cancer if you get bitten by a radioactive in my world. But this is how you get superpower. So, and then I want people to be like by issue 4 or 5, you're going to notice something from the first issue. Like, oh, okay. This was like hidden in plain sight. So, you know, that's, and then the 3rd issue, I want to explore like street level vigilantes. Like, how would it really be to have Batman and the Punisher in your town? Yeah. You know, like it would be kind of scary, you know? So,
yeah. Let's go and look at your campaign.
Okay. Okay. I'll bring up, I'm on 2 campaigns right now. So,
okay.
I'm a rookie. I'm starting to think maybe it wasn't the best idea to go. I'm sharing the wrong thing. Let me.
Right, I'll take that down.
Okay. Stop screen. I was just sharing the basic of my comic. Let me just. Oh, there we go. Okay. So this is. Oh, okay. I thought we were sharing it right. All right. So this is my Fund My Comic page.
Okay.
So I got 179 backers, which,
Nice.
because they say you get 10% of your subscribers on YouTube, some
Yeah.
marketing terms, everything's being studied. So I got 1,400 subscribers. So by math, I should have 140 backers. So I also have a large family. So I guess the marketers didn't take that into consideration. So I'm real happy. But this is the regular cover by Renzo Rodriguez. Renzo, oh man, he's so good. I saw his artwork. He did Impossible Stars for Richard C. Myers, and then he did the Thomas Valiant for RJ, and he did he did something for Mark Polton, Viking Wolf, and Coney Waves. But I was like, this guy is such a good superhero artist. So I contacted him, and we hit it off like gangbusters. So this is his cover. And then I did a variant cover. I managed to get Pat Broderick. Right now he's
nice.
Yeah, he's doing Bronze Star with Mike Barron.
Right.
Pat Broderick is like so cool. It's the closest you're gonna get to hanging out with Sam Elliott, the cowboy actor. He's just so cool. And I love this. I remember when he showed me the thumbnails, I was like, I don't like it. But then when it was finished, I was like, you're the pro. This is awesome. So this you could only get on Fund My Comic. I want to reward because I trust Fund My Comic that they don't shadow ban. They don't do any nonsense. And Luke Stone, the owner, has been nothing but a stand-up guy. So I wanted to do something that you could only get there. This is the back cover. This is the name of the story. The patriarch story is Daddy's home, and he's just trying to get home, and he's a superhero. So there's obstacles. You know what I mean? I kind of thought it's kind of funny. Like Superman doesn't need to sleep. Wouldn't it be selfish of him to even sleep, because he could see everything? He could see around the world. He's not like he looks like Superman, but he's nowhere near Superman level of power. So when he uses his super senses, it strains him. So he's getting tireder and tireder. And as he goes home, just when he gets a calm head, he's like, let me check one more time. Oh, of course, there's something I got to do. So he's just getting more and more ragged as he gets home. And then when he gets home, this is what he's getting home to. So this is his farm. These are all his kids. This is his wife in the pinkish purple outfit. You can see she's got them. So I just wanted to have like something that shows you what it's like when he gets home. I just love this. Renzo did so good. And then here's the interior art. Of course, I wanted people to know that Renzo's doing the interior art. I'm not pulling a switcheroo, which drives me nuts when you get such a good artist on the cover and then you open it up and you're like, dude.
Right.
And I think a lot of people do that. So I wanted to show I'm on the up and up. So this is, obviously it's not lettered.
Who's the colorist? That's amazing color work.
Oh, Daniel De La Silva Rodriguez.
Okay.
He's also doing genuine comics. He's doing a Perfect 10 with Dave.
Okay. Yeah.
To the point where I was reading, I was like, oh man, these colors are so good. So I reached out to him and he gave me Daniel's contact information. Daniel is so good. Yeah, I really like, I'm trying to make like a callback to Bronze Age Marvel, so people always like, can't the bad guys just rob banks? So the first couple pages, he's stopping a bank robbery. This is Boss Moxie. He woke up one day and adopted this 30s gangster persona and started like a babyface Nelson. Just
right.
He's got these hot sidekick chicks. Like everybody's gonna notice him, but that's his. So with these hot chicks, his Tommy's machine. He talks. Hey, I ought to murderize you.
Right.
Because, like, first off, because that's a Batman villain. What I mean? So I always, one of the things I always liked about John Byrne, one of my favorite artists in comics, but he's also one of my favorite writers in comics, because John Byrne always like, why do that? I know that's a comic book trope, but why? And he would, kind of make a lot. So I'm like, okay, Gotham City's got guys that dress up like penguins, guys that dress up like clowns, girls that dress up like cats, but not Miami. Baltimore doesn't have this problem. Saskatchewan doesn't have this problem. Why Gotham? So I always thought there has to be something wrong with Gotham. So in my comic, this is Science City. It's a imaginary city, but set in the real world. It's set near Yuma, Arizona, because I read somewhere that scientists say if you could build solar farms, like a 10 by 10 solar farm near Yuma, Arizona. You could get enough solar energy to power a city. So I'm like, okay. So this is the city of the future. It's Metropolis,
cool.
Science City.
I like that.
Yeah, and then so you could see. Oh, you can't see here, but all the buildings, everything's solar. These are all solar panels everywhere.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So they got like trams, clean
Yeah.
energy and stuff like that. But of course, there's a problem, and the city itself was designed by Ian Strange, who's he's a magician, but nobody believes he's a magician because magic's not real, right? But he designed the city based on sigils that I will be mapping out. And
okay.
Renzo is going to do a 2-page, not in this issue. And if I spent way too much money on this issue, not in this issue, it's expensive enough. And if you could see this, I've already spoiled it before. You see this statue, Colossus of Rhodes?
Yeah.
So this is the Lex Luthor character, the industrialist who got rich. He got rich off of Y2K and then built Science City using the blueprints from Ian Strange, but he didn't stick to it. So he changed things. And in that place of that statue, there was supposed to be a spire, like almost like, well, not almost, like kind of exactly like the Washington Monument.
Okay.
And it was supposed to act like a staff that focused all this energy because Science City is built in a perfect place to harness solar power, and then a conflagration of Lee lines, and all this energy was going to merge together, and it was going to cause utopia. But you can't just take off the magic staff, because that's what it was, and put this statue. So now that energy is focused, hits this statue, and just causes people, through a statue of a megalomaniac. So people wake up now as crazy bank robbers. You know what I mean? the perfect city is cursed, so there's problems in Science City. That's a good title for a story, Problems in Science City. So, and as you can see, the patriarch is like a father figure. He doesn't come in and start, he could come in and start beating up Boss Moxie. He's just a guy with a gun. He's an experienced superhero. And what does he do? He talks him out without violence, because if your dad just runs into the room and starts beating you up before giving you that, I told you to stop making that noise, you know what I mean? If he just comes, that's abuse. So he's a good dad. He came in and he talked him out of it. And here he is using his senses. He's trying to, like, he's smiling. All right, I'm going home. Oh, damn, car crash. This purpose of this scene was to show that his powers are not like Superman. He's vastly different, and then he's flying off. He's smiling. Yay, I get to go home. He does the dumb mistake of using his senses.
Something else.
And not ad infinitum. He finally makes it home, and he gets more ragged and beat up. This is a coin that I added because I'm a lunatic. I love coins. So this is $5 add on. It's the size of a nickel.
Nice.
I can show it. I got one right here.
Oh yeah, let me blow you up there.
Yeah, I love this. It comes with this like black flash on it. So you can see the details really well.
Yeah.
I love these coins. And then because I'm also a crazy person, I went and got these because these would take forever. So I ordered a different coin because they promised it would be here before. But so I got these coins, but these showed up out of the blue after they said they weren't going to show up. They just showed up. So I got these. So they're not on any campaign yet. So, but these are twice the size, 2x2s.
Oh, cool.
These are really nice. But if anybody's interested in these, that's why I put my you could PayPal me at johnslongbox@yahoo.com. I have to charge $25 and then like $10 shipping. You know what I mean? These are really expensive, but I only got 20 of them. So I don't know if they're going to make it on a campaign because people are buying them. I got this pint glass because he's a dad and dads like beer. You know what I mean? I was trying to play on the idea of fatherhood, because I got so tired of like toxic masculinity. So I wanted to make the most positive masculinity character in the world. And I'm like, there's nothing more positive masculine than a father. Yeah. So he's everything positive about masculinity. He's a dad. He loves his kids. He wants to spend all day with his kids, but he's a father, and dads have to go out to work. He protects the world. Your dad should be a protector. He's a provider. They have a farm. And that's funny that like nobody's more of a tyrant than a little kid. When he comes home and they farm with the kid's like, no powers, Dad. We don't have powers. You don't have powers. So, he can't use his powers to farm. And then he's married. He loves his wife. They're madly in love. They're still in love. There's nothing sneaky or sinister about, he's not a player or anything like that. And he likes a beer. So I offered a professional 8-ounce beer pint glass. But I wanted to show this scene. This woman over here in the glasses, she's the roving reporter that's obsessed with the patriarch. Sound familiar?
Yeah.
Yeah. And she every time she comes near him, he flies away. She's getting more and more pissed and more like, pay attention to me, Right. Because that's another thing, like in comic book tropes, like if you ever read The Spirit, Ellen Nolan was always unmercifully hitting on the Spirit, and he was like, I gotta go, and then Sans Serif and all the other, and then you read Billy Batson, Captain Marvel. He was a 12-year-old boy, and then he transformed. They don't know. They just see this hunky man. So all the women were throwing themselves at him, and he was like, I gotta go. So I always thought that was like a fun trope of like the superhero, like all the women attracted to this, but he's got to go because he wants to be home with his wife and kids.
Right.
Nothing creepy, nothing weird. It's like wholesome. So this is an all ages comic.
Nice.
Yeah. So I'm trying to think if I skipped anything. Oh, and here's the stretch goals. We're at 5,000. So this was 3,000, 4,000, 5,000. These 3 cards. So the Patriarch card, I just approved the backs of the card. So he's going to send me the high vis scans, and then I'm going to start making. I made 7 cards, even though there's 6 showing, and I'll explain that in a second. So I got the Patriarch card, the Boss Moxie card. This is Mal, one of the henchwomen. That's Molly Cusack. And then this is going to be the black woman henchman. This is going to be the blonde woman henchman. And this is the main villain that I didn't reveal yet. And then, so I'm not even telling his name yet. But the card's made up, and then I was like, oh, okay, I'm done. And then I'm like, wait a minute, there's a 7th character, because I have a backup story called Unheroic Tales. And Unheroic Tales is the origin of Lucius Kane. Lucius Kane is the mayor of Science City. If you got, what comic book doesn't have a corrupt mayor?
Right.
So he's the corrupt mayor. So it's going to be set in 1999. He's young. He's going on his job interview, and he makes a choice that defines his path in life. And then the card is going to be modern day Lucius Kane, because this is set in 2024. So issue number 2, you're going to introduce, the Patriarch's going to interact with the mayor. So he's going to look, with gray beard, but even though he's a kid. So I might as well show you if I'm going to remove this. And while I'm talking, I will show you the artwork. Here, I shouldn't have shut down Twitter, but I'll bring up the Kickstarter while I'm looking for the other. What am I doing? Old man playing a computer. So this is on Kickstarter. The only difference is I actually have a trailer that works, because I don't know if you know Magora gal. She just made this for me, so I asked her permission for this. So I all good faith, I got to let people know that Phantasmagoria gal made this for me. So she made this trailer, and the campaign is the same, except people wanted a black and white edition. Some people wanted that back cover as the front cover. I customer serve, but this is the Kickstarter variant. This is Michael T. Gilbert, who did Mr. Monster. I love this. This is like,
nice.
I want to do a throwback to Bronze Age Marvel. So he was like, how about some Bronze Age DC? So this has got that, whimsical silliness that, you don't see anymore. Like, somebody was like, yeah, word balloons on the cover. I was like, yeah, So, it's Patriarch with his son having a picnic. And if you see, all the covers seem to have these robotic ants. So the robotic ant is invading the picnic, and the wife is in danger. I love that. But, while you're looking at that, I will give you a sneak peek, because I just love this so much. I got to show this off. Scrolling up, Okay, there we go. So I'm going to stop this, and I'm going to share something else. There we go. So this is the, I call it the lost card, even though I tell everybody what it is. So this is Ron Mosicki drew this because he did the his story, and Oscar colored it. So Oscar Carrera is coloring this. Ron Mosicki, who did Nano 13, drew this. So Ron's going to be my backup guy, but I'm going to do it proper next time. I got to hit a stretch goal because you know, you get excited and you're like, oh, everybody's going to back my comic. Oh, geez, I didn't make any money yet. So I got to tone it down. But I love this. So he's the
that's great.
So he's one of the villains next issue, you know, because you know, but you're going to know his story, and if you get his card, it's the cards, the trading cards on the back, they have their role playing stats. So you could get a role playing game and role play these characters, you know, if you're into that. Of course I am. So that's Lucius Kane. He goes by the name of the Suit because, you know, in comic books, you know, you understand Superman wears his outfit, Spider-Man wears his outfit, but why does Jimmy Olsen always wear that green suit all the time? You know, like Lois Lane always wore the same outfit for 30 years. So I'm kind of playing on that. So he's a comic book character who always wears the same suit. Well, that became his thing. He's like, it's my looking suit. It's my look. So, you know, people are like, oh, Lucius Kane and this in a suit, and then they're just like, the suit's here, you know. So that it became like his name. So he's the Suit. So there you go.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah, he asked me to talk. I'll talk. I got no problems talking.
That's why you're here, man. So you can talk. So the patriarch, where do his powers come from? What's his power set?
Okay, I was being really evasive about his powers for the longest time because I wanted you to think he was a Superman ripoff. But then I'm thinking that's probably not the best idea to get people to think that my character is a ripoff. So he has more in common with Jean Grey than Superman.
Oh, okay.
He's the Cape guy, and in my way of thinking, like, there's two versions of Cape guys. The Cape guy is either the leader, powerful superhero Superman, or the Cape guy is the dark, mysterious guy like Batman. But, like, you know, Reed Richards is not a Cape guy. Spider-Man's not a Cape guy. So if you're a Cape guy, I break it down. You're either Apollo or Dionysus. So he's Apollo, and he's projecting himself as, well, he is confident. He's protecting himself as like, I'm here. I'm in charge. I'm the good guy, which he is, but his powers are telekinesis.
Okay.
So like when he picked up that car, he's a fit guy who works out. You know, he eats healthy. He works out. He doesn't smoke, but he's also a 45-year-old man. So he's constantly working out. So he's stronger than the average bear, but he can't lift a car. So he's telekinetically lifting the car. You know, and then when you saw he was fixing the hood, he was putting his hand on it and smoothing it out, you know, with telekinesis. So if you shoot him with a bullet, he can deflect the bullets. But if he's not concentrating or not aware, the bullet could easily hit and kill him. So he's pretty weak. And when he's using his super senses, he's literally, his senses are gone. Like if you know, okay, what's going on at the park? Well, at the park, he could see, hear, feel, touch, and smell everything at the park. So he doesn't have that here because his senses literally. So he's vulnerable. So he'll do it when he's up in the air, or he'll do it when he's like, you know, you guys cover me, because you could just walk up to him, and stab him, or shoot him when he's doing that. You know what I mean? Because he's not able to defend himself. He's not aware. It's like kind of like Doctor Strange, but not as much. He's not sending his spirit. So he's literally said, I call it clairsentience.
Okay.
Not clairvoyant. Clairvoyant means like you're aware. Like it's like he has to like his family and his wife and kids. He could easily, because he has a connection to. But it's just like, I wonder what Phil Moskowitz over at Skizia, who I've never heard of before. He doesn't know where to sit. Like, his senses have to travel. You know what I mean? So if he's familiar with the path to home, but if you tell him like, oh, my husband's lost, well, where's your husband? Well, you got the super senses. Like, well, I don't know where to send him. You know, so I you know, so it's things like that. I wanted to give him Marvel limitations instead of DC limitations. If you know what that means. So, and that's also in when he meets the bank robber's got this machine gun. He could deflect those bullets, but those bullets, not all of them are just gonna, they could get deflected. He could miss one and somebody get hurt, you know what I mean? Or he could just physically hit this guy and then the guy shoots you know what I mean? So he just said, you know what, I'm going to talk this guy out of it because I'm a good guy and I don't want anybody to get hurt. So there you go. Like I said, and people have been telling me I like the idea of like fatherhood as his main thing. Because can you name any comic book character that's like a positive father? Like Reed Richards was, but not anymore. Yeah. They got, Peter Parker was going towards that way, and that I'm trying to think who like Superman, but his family is now weird, and so I don't know who except for like if you ever read Noble Causes, that's all about family, but it's all about dysfunctional family. It's like married children had superpowers, so there's no positive role model, but that doesn't mean there's not going to be any tension because they live in the middle of nowhere, and the oldest son is 19 years old and he wants to go to college, and he's like, but the father's like, but you're safe here. And he's like, so you're telling me I'm a prisoner? I can't leave. I can't, I have to grow up on the farm. I could never go outside. I could never get a girlfriend. I could never get a job. I'm just going to be a worker on your farm. So he's a father. He's like, I don't want to let him go, but he's his own person, so that'll cause tensions. And then I don't want to get into what happens because of that. But yeah, I got a big, long story planned, but I got to get issue 1 out first.
Right. That's awesome, man. That sounds like a great book.
Thanks. I kept the first issue pretty low stakes because I don't even tell his origin because I'm like, nobody cares about the origin of a character they don't know. Right. So like Doctor Strange, they didn't tell his origin until like 5 stories later or something like that. So you're gonna see the origin later, but at the first issue, it's just the waves are rolling in. Issue 2, there's gonna be so much world building, but you're not going to realize it because I hope you're going to get caught up in the characters and the stories and everything like that. But that was my rookie mistake. I wanted to, because I don't know if I can make 2 issues. So I was cramming everything in, world building. And people are like, well, I don't care about these characters because like I was putting in so many characters and they were just like, just imagine like the beginning of Lord of the Rings for 3 hours. You know what I mean? Like, oh God, get to the story. So,
right.
So I had to stop and I had to rewrite it. So I purposely kept, you'll get some world building, but I think again I'm biased, but you'll get the world building I think the proper way because you're interested and you want to know. Like I don't know if you read Reni's Fiendish. She's got tremendous world building, and 3 issues in, you're still learning about it, but you're learning about it by the way the characters are interacting. It's so good. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So again, all you have to do is say hello to me and I'll talk.
No, this is great, John. Thank you so much.
No problem.
I was a big fan of Peter Parker, married Peter Parker with Mary Jane.
Yeah.
It ticked me off whenever they undid that with One More Day. That was.
Oh, did you read Spider Girl?
Oh, I'm trying to remember which one was that one.
Spider Girl
daughter?
Yeah, that was his daughter. She's 16 years old. Yeah, Mayday Parker.
Yeah,
I love that. Peter Parker walked with the cane. He kind of had a dad bod.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I love that. I thought that was so good. Now that'll never happen.
Yeah.
I thought that was so good. That was Tom DeFalco created that character. And then he created a whole M2 line. It was like 7 to 8 years in the future of Marvel. Like they made the A-Next, which would be the next Avengers, and Wild Thing, the daughter of. I love that. That was like one of the best things to come out of the 90s.
Yeah, Juggernaut 2. Is it J2?
Yeah, J2. He was. He was like the slacker with Final. And I forget they had like another Thor character, but it was so much fun. Like,
it was. Yeah.
Ant-Man's daughter grew up to be Stinger.
Yeah.
But now One More Day like ruined all of that.
Yeah, it's like you said, when I was a kid, like I had dreams of one day working for Marvel, one day working on Spider-Man, because that was my favorite character.
Oh, Spider-Man was yours?
Yeah. But yeah, just the fact that they've taken so much of his character apart, and he's not the same character that he was when I was growing up.
No. no. And part of me, they made Miles Morales, and everybody's like, "Oh, you don't like Miles Morales because he's black." I'm like, "No, I don't like Miles Morales because he's a scab." They created Miles Morales to screw the Kirby estate, not the Kirby, the Ditko estate, because
Right.
there was a lawsuit coming up that Ditko estate was going to sue to get either renegotiate the contract or take the character overall. So Marvel said, "We're going to make Miles Morales, and we're going to purposely make Peter Parker a dummy, devalue Peter Parker. Oh, here you go. You got the devalue. We got the young, cool, hip character, and yeah. I'm like, why does anybody like Miles Morales? Like everybody in comic books pretend to play lip service to creator rights and everything. And here's a character that was created to exploit and stand up for the big corporations against the little guy. And people are like, oh, Miles, you don't like him because you're racist. And I said, no, I just explained why I don't like him. Whatever. I call him Scab Spider-Man or Spider Scab, But yeah, Marvel, I agree with you. Marvel's been pooping on my friend Peter Parker for a long time.
Yeah, definitely. He's unrecognizable now.
And now he's just like a goof,
Mm-hmm.
You said Peter Parker, Spider-Man. You read like the first 100 issues of Spider-Man. He was like an angry, mean guy, like if Uncle Ben didn't die, Peter Parker was on his path to becoming a villain. He had an edge to him. He was nasty to people. He was like, you don't understand my genius. Blah, blah. And then, the John, when Ditko left, what was it, 38, 39, they kind of, he went on this apology tour, became nice. But if Ditko never left, Peter was an angry, like abrasive character. That's why people don't like it when I say it. But I think Andrew Garfield got Peter Parker the best, this I made it the world kind of thing.
Yeah.
And now Peter Parker's just like, you're the best, we're besties, prancing around like a jerk, like flirting with the Human Torch,
Yeah. That's sad.
Yeah, the Marvel is just hiring people that are embarrassed by the source material. Or worse, they're arrogant and think that they know better. Yeah. You know better than Jim Starlin or Jack Kirby or Stan Lee. Yeah, you know better. You're right out of college and you know better.
Yeah, or they don't even know the history of the characters. They're just moving forward.
Yeah, I'm giving them too much credit. Yeah,
exactly.
So when did you decide that writing for Spider-Man ain't gonna happen?
Oh, probably about it was probably about the same time you did. Probably around 2015 or so.
Yeah,
that's when I kind of came to that realization. Like these characters are not the same characters.
Right.
Because that's about the time One More Day came out, wasn't it? Like 2015, somewhere around there.
I think I think something like maybe like 2013, around there, but around there, within.
Yeah.
I know it came out before I quit, but I one day I called turkey. I'm done with Marvel, done with DC, and I can't believe that it's going on 10 years since I bought a Marvel and DC. And at one point, like when I was living in college, it was just like, rent, food, comic books, and then all other expenses were vastly beyond that. Like my clothes were ripped. I was walking to work because I couldn't get gas in my car, but I had my comics, and now I'm like, I don't even miss them.
Yeah.
Like I joke around. I say, me and Marvel broke up.
Yep.
I don't call my ex-girlfriend anymore. She don't call me. We're cool. She's Marvel seeing other people right now. Whatever makes you happy. I don't, but it's just bad. So, and it's a shame. It's a shame.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I'm the biggest lunatic as far as comic book collected I've ever met. It's and I know people are like, what's with the neck brace? I got to a car accident this week and I got to wear a neck brace. So if you know me and you don't recognize me, I'm the guy who usually had a big old bushy beard, but I had to shave it for the neck brace.
You look 20 years younger.
I know people. I sent the picture to the guys at work. I've worked with these guys for 10 years, and they're like, "Oh my god!" They don't even recognize me.
You look good. You look good.
Thank you. To
So
the point, I had to
fractured?
get a new driver's license because my driver's license had no beard. And,
Right. Yeah.
and I had to get a security clearance for the airport, and they made me get a new driver's license. So what were you saying?
Did you get a fracture? Because
I got a fracture in one of the vertebrae in my neck. So I have to. if I tilt my neck down, I could, say this is the vertebrae, the hairline fracture could spread. So I got to keep it. I got to keep it so it could heal. And then in a couple of weeks, I got to go check to see if it is healing. And if it's not healing, I got to get, you got to open up and take a DeWalt drill and drill these things together, which nobody wants.
No.
So it's where this, but you know what? When I shaved the beard, I took it off and I was putting my chin down it hurt. Yeah. So I recognize I need to wear this.
Yeah.
I slept in it. This is my third night wearing this uncomfortable piece of junk, but what else do what other choice do I got? I like moving. I like getting up and having hands,
Definitely. I hope you recover quickly.
Yeah, thank you. So you got a comic too, and I'm real embarrassed that I didn't know.
Oh no, don't be embarrassed. Yeah, I'll show it off real quick.
Yeah, show your comic. I love talking to people about comics. And I love talking to people about things that they're like enthusiastic about. Like I had a friend whose father, he collected these ceramic insulators up on telephone poles, and this guy just never talked. He was just like you want something to drink, guys? And I what are those? And he animated, lit up, talked about them. Oh, these were made over here between these years. And I was like, wow, I'm interested in little ceramic insulators from telephone poles, which I didn't even know existed 20 minutes ago.
Right.
I don't particularly like Tom Hanks, but I remember he was on a talk show, and it was a run-of-the-mill interview. And then Conan O'Brien asked him, I heard you collect typewriters. Tom Hanks was like, yeah, I got this type. And he was going on. I was like, oh my God. I was like, not paying attention. And now I'm just watching Tom Hanks talking about collecting. So yeah, I want to know about stuff that makes you, tricks and treats. That explains the Halloween.
Yeah. So I can pull this down. There we go.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah, so this is Tricks and Treats Volume 2. It's my second horror anthology.
Oh, wow.
This is the team. My brother, Justin Soto, a friend of mine, Mario Williams, Chris Parfit, Keith Gleason is my letterer. I got a cover by Preston Acevedo.
Oh, I know Preston. Yeah, I've seen his. I don't know him. I just know his artwork.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That is awesome.
Amazing cover. Yeah.
Yeah, that is awesome.
Yeah, I love it.
I got to ask, are you a Lovecraft fan?
I am.
Yeah.
I noticed your shirt. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. Miskatonic.
Yeah, Miskatonic University. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
And yesterday I was wearing a Lovecraft shirt. I don't know if you could hear my cat meowing, but
yeah, I did. That's cute.
Yeah, I'm a Lovecraft freak, and
nice.
I actually had to tone down the Lovecraft influences in my comic because I was like, I think I'm getting carried away. Issue number 2 of my comic actually introduces like a sneaky way of introducing an ancient horror. So I don't even think you're going to realize that there's an ancient horror in issue 2. But anyway, let's talk about I love that werewolf.
Yeah. Preston did an awesome job.
Yeah. What is that red character with the eyeball? That is such a cool design.
Yeah, this is in one of the stories.
Does he have a name?
Malkesh is his name.
Okay. That is cool. That is really cool.
Thanks. Yeah. So there's 7 stories. I'm only showing off 6 of them on here. And I've got like 4 sample pages. This first story is called It Goes on All Fours and has to do with skinwalkers.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's creepy.
Yeah. And then this next one's called Cephas the Vampire, and it's about a vampire that goes out for revenge. His coven left him out in the sun to burn, but he survived, and so he comes back.
I'm glad you're making scary vampires because vampires are monsters. They're not romantic interest. Like I love the Anne Rice books.
Yes, me too.
But I love the fake history and
yeah,
and everything. But vampires are monsters,
Yes.
and if I ever get around to explaining vampires in my book, you're going to be horrified.
Yeah, cool. This one's called Santa Fondo. This is about a couple that's going for a drive, and out of the mist, this town appears, and this is kind of Lovecraftian
stuff.
Yeah, so this is like a church.
So this is like a town you normally can't access.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Again,
Yeah, so
like I said,
she goes into the church to check it out to get help, and these guys are in there, kind of
creepy cultist. Oh, this is right
Shadow
up.
over Innsmouth. Yeah,
Yeah, Shadow over Innsmouth is that, and in the what is it? Why can't the Pickman's Model are my two favorite Lovecrafts. Yeah, just because the way they describe the town. I love that idea of like a town of conspiracy. Everybody's in on it, and they don't want you there.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're kind of the fish out of water there.
yeah, I love that.
This
Yeah,
one's
and in
called.
Shadows over Innsmouth, you're literally the fish out of water.
There you go. Yeah, exactly. This is called Die Brücke, and this is about World War II Nazi experiments. And these soldiers go in to pull out one of their spies, and they come across some strange stuff going on.
Oh, okay. Oh, that is cool.
Yeah, it's based on there's a story called The Rat House. I don't know if you've heard of that. It's kind of a World War II legend about I think it's a British soldiers found this fort, and they go inside and they flooded out like the bottom levels. So they sent divers down there, and they're looking through these portholes, and they see people like sitting down in chairs with animal heads sewn on.
Is that
really creepy? Really creepy imagery.
Yeah, it is. Is it like supposed to be a true story? Is it one of those like tall tales, or or did somebody write this as a short story?
I don't know. No, it's a legend. I don't know if it's true or not, but it's just a story that's been kicked around for a while.
Oh. And that's one of the reasons why I named my comic Heroic Tales instead of the Patriarch, because I wanted to free it up to be able to tell not only other characters but other times. So I mean, there's something about superheroes in World War II.
Yeah.
I gotta have World War II superheroes to the point I have cowboy era superheroes and even colonial era superheroes.
Oh, nice.
So, God willing, I make it to the point where I can tell those stories. But I can't wait to show the World War II super team. Oh my God, I can't wait.
that sounds like a lot of fun. I love
that
era.
Yeah, if people say, "What are you gonna do if you win the lottery?" I'm like, hire a bunch of people and make more comics. I'll basically turn $1 million into $10,000 real quick.
Yes, yeah. I feel the same way. Like,
you know who the art reminds me of? This reminds me of Richard Corbin. Are you familiar with Richard Corbin?
I'm not familiar with him.
You look him up. Look him up. I'm trying to think. I don't want to say he debuted in the eerie and creepy horror magazines of the 60s, but I discovered Richard Corbin in Pacific Comics. They did horror called Twisted Tales, and it's like, this is going to sound weird description, but it's like a cartoony realistic art. It's the only way I could describe him. But he painted it so it looked as if cartoon characters became real, but they're not, because they're cartoon characters. It's so good.
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, I really like that image in the middle, that horrific. I don't know what that is. This looks cool. And you wrote all these stories?
Well, both my brother and I wrote some of the stories. This one was written and drawn by my brother. I'm the colorist.
Oh, your brother drew this?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, your brother's style reminds me of Richard Corbin.
Yeah,
and I like that your colors are you have a muted palette. Like, again, I'm a rookie, so take my criticism with a grain of salt. But I think a lot of rookie colorists overcolor everything.
Yeah.
I like that you're kind of using an old school limited palette. It makes it moody and atmospheric. It's pretty cool.
Right, and it also kind of goes with the setting, kind of desaturated colors.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna have bright purples and pinks in a horror story, it ain't gonna work.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. This is pretty cool.
Yeah, and this one we went with more of a EC Comics look, kind of
this
matrix coloring.
Yeah, this looks like came out of like the late 70s, early 80s.
Right. Yeah, that's what we're going for.
What, like flat colors? Is that what that's called?
Yeah, it's flat colors, but also like we kind of laid over this texture, so it kind of looks like the printing, little dots.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. Again, another thing people are doing is doing all these computer tricks to bring out, and it kind of just hides the artwork. This is nice.
Yeah. And then Keith Gleason did a great job doing kind of like an offset word balloons a little bit. You can kind of see the white coming out of the.
Yeah, it looks like old school printing. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I had a lot of fun working on this one. And this is probably the longest story in here. This is called Across the Sea. And my brother did this all watercolors.
Yeah. So he didn't even draw it. He just painted this.
Right. Yeah. It's a bunch of paintings that he put together as panels.
I love that image. That is really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that too.
Now I saw this is issue number 2.
Yeah. This is volume 2.
Okay. So let me ask you, can I get both of them?
I don't have one printed. What I am offering is the digital version.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know if you're a digital guy. Probably not.
No,
probably.
Oh man, I gotta.
I'm a physical. Yeah, I'm a physical guy too. But yeah, I've got that for the first one here in this digital pack.
Okay, $20. How many pages is that?
It's like 96 pages.
It says over 200 pages of stories. There you go.
Yes. Yeah.
That's a deal. And how much is the physical volume 2?
$30.
And how many pages is that?
100 pages.
Oh wow. Okay, that no problem there. And you don't need to read one.
No, it's all anthologies, so it's not connected.
Are you a fan of the Twilight Zone?
I am. That was actually my inspiration. Yeah, in volume 1, I wrote a story called Mine, and it's very much inspired by Long Distance Call episode with Bill Mummy about the grandmother who is really close to the grandson. Then she passes away, and then she's still communicating with him over the toy phone.
Yeah.
That was like one of my favorite episodes. So I wrote a story in volume 1 that's very much inspired by that.
Cool.
So yeah, that's my book.
That looks good. I'm sorry I didn't know about this. I get embarrassed when I'm like talking to somebody. I'm like, oh, you have a comic and I didn't know about it?
Yeah. No,
but that just shows you how hard it is. You know, I'm totally into this and I still miss things.
Yeah.
It's got to be frustrating when you do all this work, 100 pages, this art looks great. And then like, oh, you didn't know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, definitely. It's a struggle to get the word out.
Yeah. Yeah. There is no more Stan Lee. We got to be our own Stan Lees.
That's right.
Yeah. That looks good.
Thank you.
Oh, well, Jolly Green's here. Jolly Green, how you doing? Sorry I didn't see your comment.
Yeah, I put it up earlier.
Yeah, when I start talking about my comic,
right? No, it's all good, man. Love the passion though; it's contagious.
Thanks.
It's great talking to you, John.
Oh, no problem. I had a good time.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's go ahead and call it. It's been an hour.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody who's watching live, and everybody who's gonna watch the rerun here. Check out John's book. I put the link down in the description. You can go back his book there.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, no problem, man. Right. Everybody have a great weekend.
Come on my channel. We'll talk. We'll talk about your comic on my channel. Send me a direct message. Otherwise, I don't remember because I'm getting crazy.
I understand.
Thanks a lot, everybody.
Yeah. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
You too.